Hey, Life Uncloseted listeners. Did you like how I sang that? Probably not, but anyway. Hey, I am so glad to have you here today because we're going to talk about a little thing called confusion. Yes, confusion. And I've got 3 simple confusion busters I want to share with you. But why am I talking about confusion? Well, because in just a few days, at least here in the United States, people are going to the polls, if they haven't already been going to the polls, because we're in a state of confusion in our country. Now, you may not think you are, because if you're on one side or the other, you think, oh no, I'm clear on where I'm going. Of course we are. We know where we're going, but then we get the little ballots and we realize, oh, there's stuff on the ballots that we got to make up our minds about. And then we dip into confusion like, okay, well, I got to understand this, and down the spiral we go. That's just one example of confusion. But then there's stuff that shows up like, okay, what should we make for dinner? Should I go to the gym? Should I not say something to somebody even though I want to? And before we know it, whether it be politics or our own personal stuff going on in our lives, from careers to family to lovers to you name it, we get in these really interesting little spirals of confusion. And then we freak out. We freak out big time. Understandably so. And I'm raising my hand because I get this completely. In fact, for the last couple of months, I've been in kind of a crazy state of confusion going, okay, what's next? Where do I go? How do I do? And then I realized the very first great confusion buster, not to be confused with Ghostbusters, but in a way, it is kind of like ghost busting, because as soon as you can break the confusion, you move forward. And the first one for me was to really, really realize that it means I'm growing and I'm learning. Every time I get confused, I'm kicking myself in the butt and going, okay, you're in some space that you don't know what you're doing, but you're learning. You're learning, Rick. And the more you learn, the more you grow. Kind of like the more you eat, the more you grow too, but we're not going to get into that because that gets real confusing for me. Then the second thing I learned was, yes, there's tons of external stuff that causes me to get confused. But then I realized that's kind of bullshit. Because you see, something external to me happens, it can beg the question, but if I take it beyond the initial question and start ruminating and rolling it around and getting all tied up in it and going, but what if, and then, well, how could I, and I got to know, that's when you take it internal. And that's when you're the one responsible. It isn't the situation outside of you. It isn't the person outside of you. It isn't what's going on the news. It isn't what's going on in politics. It isn't what's going on with some snippy little remark somebody made. It's when we take it internal and we start ruminating on it. We spin in that hamster wheel, in that blender, whatever metaphor you want to use. When we take it inside, that's when we generate the confusion. Now, granted, we have to think about stuff and we have to figure it out. But the more we dive into it, the more internal we bring it, the more we sit there with it internal and we don't do anything, then we're the culprits. Not the situation, not the politics, not the outside people. When we take it so inside that this is all we can obsess about, guess what? You're responsible for your own confusion. So to that point, I want to remind all of us, myself included, that we have this beautiful thing called the power of choice. And when we use the power of choice, we can choose to make a decision about our confusion. And then we can choose to take action. And then we can also choose to live with our decision. And if it was a bad decision, then we can choose to make another decision. Because you see, almost everything that shows up as confusion, and actually I believe it is everything that shows up as confusion, will eventually require a decision to cause us to take action and to live with that decision. I know it's kind of stupid and silly, huh? How simple I just made that. But it's true. Every time we're confused, we will get to a point where we take action, we will make a decision, and we will live with that decision. I know I just got those out of order, but let's go through it again. We will choose to step out of the chaos and the confusion by making a decision, taking action on that decision, and living with that decision. And when it doesn't work out, we'll go through the same cycle again. So in reality, here's the funny thing. We're going to grow and learn. We're going to stop taking everything internal, except for the moment that we need to choose to take it internal so that we can take action, make a decision, and live with those decisions. And that, my friends, I'm wiping my hands clean of here's 3 simple ways for you to become a confusion buster. And if you choose not to, then you're not taking and making a decision. You're not taking action. And you're going to have to live with that decision, because then what you've done is you've decided you're going to mess around with this decision not to follow these steps and take it internal, which means you're not going to grow and you're not going to learn. And with that, I'm going to just kind of slap my lips shut. Well, I can't do that and keep talking, but I'm going to call it a wrap here and sashay away from this episode of Life Uncloseted, Rants and Riffs. So take care, everybody. And we will see you in just a few days. Bye-bye.